Since the initial release of the Alpha Kit print and plays, I've played a lot of games. A lot of games. Each new week has introduced new cards into the mix that I've analyzed and I've been testing as often as I can to get a better understanding of the game. I've competed in a few small-scale tourneys, taught a few people how to play, and play-tested a ton of different decks out to see what works and what doesn't, given the current context of available cards we have to play around with. I've decided to share some of my observations in a series of videos I'll be releasing over the next few days, where I'll be ranking every current card as of June 28th. I know there'll be new cards added by the time these videos are released, and I'll revisit these videos later on to add the newly released cards to these lists after sufficient playtesting. These tier lists are broken down into 3 different videos. The first being all of the 16 legends that are currently playable. The next video will cover every unit, and the last video will cover both programs and gear cards currently in the game. These videos will be rather lengthy, so the justifications for each card's placements will be as brief as I can make them. But if you're curious or even upset I ranked cards in a certain tier, please let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to flesh out my experiences a bit more to explain myself better. One last caveat before we begin. This is all, of course, for a bit of fun, and the list is subject to massive changes when we have all of the cards available. These rankings are based on how strong and how often I see these cards played in the current pre-release beta format of the game that uses the rules currently posted on the Cyberpunk TCG.com website. We're starting things off with the flagship card of the game. V Corpo Exile is going into the top of A tier. She's the most common blue legend I see played, and is a cheap and powerful Go Solo legend. Go Solo is an incredibly powerful keyword, and most everyone I've talked with, played with, and other creators I've watched also agree that it's pretty much the meta to run a strong Go Solo legend. She's the strongest of the bunch for being so cheap, and pair her with her signature Dying Knight weapon, and you'll have a 10 power attacker stealing 2 gigs and readying 2 eddies at the end of your turn for quick play effects, which makes her a true value engine. Atom Smasher is next up, and it's also going into A tier. I was initially down on this card due to his high cost, but with all the card draw being added to the game, playing him to the field is becoming more consistent. There's very little that's as scary as seeing a called Atom Smasher on your opponent's side of the field, just standing there menacingly, waiting to be called. Now, he does only have 9 power. I do wish he had 10 innately, but a lot of people just equip him with some cheap piece of gear before he even comes to the field. You could also use Saburo to get him to 10 power if you ran him as a green legend. There are things you can do to get this guy up to 10 power. It's not a deal breaker that he's not there, it just would be nice, in my opinion, if he did. He's still very good though. Now I'm putting Ult Cunningham into C tier. I like the idea behind this card, but currently there just aren't enough programs worth it, I feel like, for her ability. I think she just simply needs more targets for her effect. She's going to be great, no doubt in my mind, but right now she's just a bit lackluster due to the limited options we have. Dum Dum. He's pretty fun to use to pump up your units. The card draw ability he has was nerfed from the original version, but it's still decent enough. He's pretty much kind of in the middle of the road to me. He's not game breaking, but he's not bad either. So I'm going to put him in B tier for now. Evelyn Parker. Alright, now brace yourself for this. Alright. Evelyn Parker is the best legend in the game right now. Her ability to ready eddies when you steal gigs with a Ganger or Corpo unit is insanely good, and I think it's a little slept on. There are a lot of units in the game right now that are either Gangers or Corpos, so readying 2 to 3 eddies after already spending them to make your plays and then attacking is not that difficult to do, and having that extra 2 to 3 eddies to play with during your turn is huge. This ability provides you with more options during your turn than any other legend in the game can currently. It's also a great setup for your rival's turn, as you can ready a few eddies, pass the turn, and then you can hit them with a quick effect or program you otherwise wouldn't be able to have afforded if it wasn't for this card. On top of this ability, she can also force a rival unit to attack you, which can highly disrupt your rival's plans, especially if they're using those low or 0 power units that they didn't want to attack you with at that time. So she's a great value engine. It's easy to build a deck around. You're just going to get a ton of value off of her. Best legend in the game right now, in my opinion. Next, looking at Goro. Goro, the classic, the insanely powerful utility Go Solo guy. S tier legend. I used to always put V ahead of him, but I think with the new cards we have available, particularly his complementary gear card, he just is the best go solo. Just spoiler alert, he's the best go solo in the game. You put Sand Devastan on this guy. Unfortunately, he can't get 10 power with it, which would just be the Chef's Kiss. But being able to ready him at the end of your turn after you've already attacked with him is amazing, because now he can just be used as a strong blocker during your rival's turn. It makes him hard to interact with for your rival, because he'll be in the ready state, so he can't be attacked. They're going to have to play some card that would spend Goro before they can interact with him. And yeah, you're just threatening a huge blocker on their turn. It's really annoying to try to deal with a Goro like this, and I'm seeing this guy played a ton now with this combo. Alright, Kara Uridine is the newest legend that we have in this roster. He has an interesting ability to let you reroll a gig. If you didn't get the value you wanted, you have another chance to. You also have a chance to get some card draw out of him if you hit a min or max gig value, which is pretty cool. To be blunt, it's not an effect that's very powerful right now. There are more reliable sources of card draw, and while being able to alter a gig is useful, there are many ways to alter gigs in the game currently, and you may be better off just going with a different yellow legend right now. Compared to the other yellow legends and just legends in general, I'm going to put him into D tier. Alright, the second Goro legend is pretty interesting. His whole deal centers around the blocker keyword, giving units a blocker, giving you card cycling when you use blockers, and maybe controversial. Some people make a case that he's pretty decent. I'm just going to put him at the top of C tier for right now. There's a case to put him into B tier for me, but I don't see him used too often, especially compared to the other green legends in the game. It's just that there are a lot of blockers in the game now. Beforehand, in the alpha format, there weren't, but now we're seeing a whole ton of them come into the game, so it's not really as important or useful to give blocker to something that doesn't have it innately. And there's a lot of card draw in the game now, so the card cycling is nice, but a bit lackluster compared to the other green legends that you could be playing instead. Alright, we're moving to Jackie now. Jackie's a pretty solid middle-of-the-road legend, and he's going into B tier. He helps you get to lower street cred, which is what blue wants, which is nice. And he can give you some card draw, which is also pretty cool. But like I said before, there's a lot of card draw getting added to the game now that's a bit easier to hit than having a min gig after playing a blue unit or gear card. I wish it was any blue card, and then, you know, a better case would be made for him to be higher up. But because it's not, it's harder to proc his drawing ability. So he's just kind of in the middle of the road. Alright, so Pan Am Palmer was the best legend in the game. She was a menace. She's still pretty good, but she's gotten a bit toned down, which was necessary. The sprite deck was just way too good. She can still give a strong unit 2 attacks in a turn, so it gives you the potential for a huge swing in your favor. And her secondary ability is nice that it could potentially ready a whole bunch of your units. I've never seen it work out though. It's a huge investment to put gear cards on 5 different things. It just doesn't really happen. So I hope we can see that being useful at some point, but I think that's just kind of a, hey, look at this, I could possibly do this kind of a deal. So I don't think it's going to really happen too often, but attacking twice is still really solid. It is more expensive than it used to be, but it's still very good. Man, do I want to, I think I will still I'll put her towards the top of B. I'm not going to put her in A tier. That's pretty controversial, I would think. But I'm just going to put her here for the utility on that. It is not as good as it used to be. Otherwise, she'd be at the top of S again. But, you know, here we are. River's next. River is... he's interesting. He really is still kind of middle of the road for me. The biggest use case for River, his true power, is in a certain combo of his where you can throw Mandibular Upgrade on a unit out of nowhere and have a surprise blocker that can stop one of your rival's units from attacking. You can just defeat it, or, you know, it could save you from losing any gigs when you absolutely need to hold on to them. So it's really cool for that. I do like that they removed the restrictions that it had before, where he can only target yellow units with that. That is kind of one of the things that made him awful, in my opinion, beforehand. So he's way more open now, which is good. So pretty solid utility legend. Not my personal favorite of the yellows, but not bad. All right, next we have Royce. Royce, I'm going to put in A tier as well. I'm going to put him above Smasher. He is the most common red legend I see played. A lot of people like to stack this guy with a ton of gear before you play him onto the field and do a big swing. I've seen this guy hit to 20 power multiple times, so he's stealing 3 gigs when he comes onto the field. It is pretty risky though, putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, because a Chrome Reverie, Cyberpsychosis, or Placide or something like that can remove this guy and then just completely cripple your whole game plan. But a lot of times when I see that happen, when he comes out to the field, he's to close out the game. So despite that, he's still very strong, and yeah, one of the most common cards that I see get hit onto the field that wins the game. Saburo's next. Saburo, he's going into C tier. His ability's pretty good for an Arasaka tribal deck. There are just not enough units to make use of this ability to make running him worth it over the other green legends. When there are more units that are Arasaka, you know, he'll go up in usefulness for sure. Right now, it's, you know, why would you play him over Panam or Goro? Or even the other Goro that can give you the ability to, you know, get some card cycling or give blockers or stuff like that. Just getting 1 power during your turn, it's not enough value. It's just not. We have our final Go Solo legend here, V Street Kid. No surprise, he's also going into A tier. I don't see him played as often as Royce and Smasher, and it's likely because he's just not as powerful as they are. Still though, he's decent enough for his cheaper cost in terms of strength, and his call ability is quite strong if you're running multiple Brain Dance cards in your deck. As you can see here, Go Solo is at the top of the tier list here. It is the best mechanic for Legends right now, I think. Just having that ability to have an attacker hit the field at any point you need to is very good. It's the meta right now. Everybody I know is running at least one Go Solo in their deck, and I feel like there's a big disadvantage you have in not running at least one of these. So be prepared to see this a lot if you're not playing right now, and I feel like upon release there's just going to be Go Solos all over the place. Right, next we have Victor Vector. He's a pretty strong legend for yellow. He's my favorite of the bunch to run, as he allows you to dig for gear cards, so you can buff up your units or find some cards to sell for eddies if you're running a little bit low on resources. The big downside to him though is that he bottom decks whatever other cards that you pull, and I have had games where I end up drawing, you know, every copy or multiple copies of the one card that I'm going to need for later on in the game, and it can be devastating to accidentally bottom deck those, and that just kind of results in, you know, it's just kind of bad luck. It's really not much you can do with that. Still, despite that liability, I'm going to put him towards the top of B tier, and I'm going to rate him as the highest amongst the yellow legends currently. You know, there's some debate there. It's not like there's a huge gap between all of these. They're all really good utility picks, but I just prefer Victor Vector over the others for being able to thin out your deck a bit, get resources into your hand, and fairly reliably. Alright, the last legend we have, Yorinobu Arasaka. And he's going into D tier, unfortunately, as the worst ranked legend in the game currently, for the same reason as his father, and that's just there are not enough Arasaka units to make his inclusion worth it. There are only 4 Arasaka units in the game right now, 6 total if you count the Goro and the Atom Smasher legends, and so he, like his father, just don't have enough support right now to be good. When more Arasaka units come in, we can revisit these guys, and I'm sure they'll be much more useful than they are right now, but he's just not worth it over these other red legends you can use. And alright, so there you go. We have the first installment of the small series of videos in the books. Do you agree with my list? I'd like to hear other players' perspectives on where you think some of these legends should be placed based on your experiences in playtesting yourself. As always, I hope you got something out of this video, whether it be entertainment, education, or inspiration. Thank you very much for watching, and be sure to check out the rest of the videos, which will be released very soon. See you all there. Goodbye.